Hey everyone, today we'll be fixing up the new Savage Opress from Hasbro's The Black Series line. Straight out of the box, it's a really nice figure. The sculpt, the size, it's perfect. They did a great job at adapting the design from the animation, and they even added some two-tone weathering effects on the torso, which you don't always see from the Black Series line. But it could be much better. I don't really like the green colour that they've used here for his suit, and it's missing some silver highlights on the lines here. And here you can see that the shoulders don't really sit correctly. They're kind of raised and pointing outwards when they should be sat flat down. So we're going to fix that. And I've also got a quality control issue here with a red splotch on his forearm, so I'll paint over that. And all of these sculpted lines I'm going to be going over with a silver, and I'm going to do a full black repaint of his suit. And here you can see that those sculpted lines carry over into the back, so we're going to have to do the back as well. And these cast iron metal pieces actually look really nice, but I'm going to be going over them again with some silver just to bring out more of that sculpt. Here's what we're going to do. First of all, lower the shoulder pads, then paint the suit black, highlight the silver lines, and add a silver dry brush to the metal pieces. So let's begin. Firstly, we're going to need the hairdryer, and we're going to heat up the figure and pop out all of the joints from the waist above, because we're going to be repainting the torso and the arms and the shoulder pads. So we've got to pop all of that out. Here's all of the disassembled pieces, and it actually didn't require that much heat because it's quite a soft plastic, so it shouldn't take you too long to pop all of this out. And now that we've got all of our parts disassembled, we're actually going to take it to the kitchen and we're going to boil some water. And I will explain why in just a moment. So, add some water to your chosen pot and heat it on the stove until it's boiled. Then once it's boiled, just go ahead and chuck your parts on in there. And now I'm going to add 2 drops of soap. I'm just using some cheap washing up liquid here, but you can use pretty much any type of soap as long as it has degreasing properties. Now just give it a really good stir and make sure that you're mixing up all of them bubbles. Now I'm going to leave these parts to soak for about a minute and a half. Now it's ready, let's scoop the plastic out. So the reason I'm doing this is because the plastic is covered in an oily protective coating from its factory process. This is why I'm soaking it in soapy boiling water. To degrease and remove some of that top coat, it will let our paint stick better to the plastic. And if you're ever directly customizing a Black Series figure without any primer, I'd always recommend doing this because it lets your paint stick better. Be careful to not drop anything. That's all of the pieces, so let's make sure that we dry them off correctly with some paper towels, empty this out, and then go back to the work desk. There you go, all of these pieces are now ready to paint. And if you have a close look, you can actually see that it's kind of matted now. It's lost some of that gloss finish, and that's because we've removed that top coat. I've just heated up this O-ring with the hairdryer, and so now I'm pulling down on the tab, and I'm just going to hold it here for about a minute or maybe 2 minutes, and hopefully it's going to reshape it. Because the reason these were sticking out is because these O-rings were molded in a weird way. Here's the difference, the one on the left being the original. It's looking much better. Now let's paint the arms. I'm going to be using this Vallejo black, and I'll be mixing it in with some airbrush thinner, and this is to turn it into more of a wash rather than a flat black paint. And I'm just using some cheap brushes off of Amazon. For paint palettes, I like to use the tops of my bottle caps, and this is because it's a nice way to recycle them and they're very reusable. Just mixing in some more of that thinner now to turn it into a thinner wash. The reason I've decided to thin this paint is because I don't want it to be gloopy on top of the plastic, especially considering we haven't used primer. It's going to be much harder to make an even, smooth surface. So the thinner your paint, the better. just go ahead and slap that paint onto the surface, and I'm going to be doing 2 coats in total. Here's how the newly painted piece compares to the original. I think it's quite nice. It's definitely better than that green colour. Let's do the torso now, and it's literally just the same process of slapping the paint on and doing 2 coats. And if you're impatient like I am, you can use the hairdryer to heat up the paint, and then it will dry much quicker, and you can do your 2 coats. Here's all the pieces painted, both arms, the neck and the torso. Now let's do those silver highlights. So I'm going to be using this Vallejo Model Air gunmetal. I'm just carefully highlighting the sculpted lines here. Take your time and do it very slowly. This Vallejo gunmetal paint is really good, and so you're only going to need 1 layer of this. You're not going to have to go back over it, luckily. Here it is, all painted, and I'm loving how this looks. Very clean and very slick. The reason I have masking tape on the inside of these joints is because I'm going to be spraying this with a matte lacquer in a moment, and I don't want to buff up those joints. Next up, let's dry brush these silver pieces. I'll just quickly explain what dry brushing is to those who won't know. So it's just basically getting a small amount of paint on your brush, then rubbing it off on a paper towel, and just lightly brushing over the sculpt, because you just want to highlight it, you don't want to actually paint it. Now the same dry brushing process on the shoulder pads. That's done, and here's how it compares to the original, looking much nicer. Now I'm outside in the garden, and I'm going to spray this with the Hycote Matt Lacquer. This is a really good lacquer, very scratch resistant, and the reason I'm only doing it on the torso is because I don't want the silver chipping off in my hands as I'm posing around with it, but the rest of the paint should be pretty fine. And if you do plan to use the Hycote Matt Lacquer, I cannot express enough how important it is to shake the can properly. Do it for at least 2 minutes. And this is because if the paint isn't properly mixed, then it won't dry as a transparent paint. It will be quite opaque and it will look grey. Now that's dried, all the pieces are ready. Let's heat up the torso and get all of this popped back together. I always find reassembling the figure to be the most rewarding part of the whole process, because you get to see the whole vision come to life in front of you. And voila! Here is the fixed Black Series Custom Savage. I'd say it's a huge improvement on the original. Here you can see how grey and flat the figure looked and the shoulder pads didn't even sit correctly. Now this guy is looking mean, clean and ready for the screen. While the paint job is a really important part of how this looks so good, I think it's actually the shoulder pads that sells it. I hope this tutorial has helped you guys improve your Black Series Savage figures, and if it did, let me know in the comments how it went. I'll have some more showcase pictures of this guy over on my Instagram, so make sure that you follow, because all of my custom figure work is all showcased over there at Corey K Figures. Now you can just sit back and enjoy these cool looking poses. Here's how it compares to my old custom from about 3 years ago, and this one was made using resin casted pieces, and then I drilled and engineered all of the joints. This will definitely be the main Savage on my shelf from now onwards. If you enjoyed the video and you found it helpful, then make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. I'll see you guys in the next one.